not much to say. Proud of our fans and our students especially. What a great atmosphere that was, especially kind of an odd kickoff time at 3:30. But I tell you what, if there's a better feeling in college football than walking over to a jam-packed student section at DKR that have stayed for the entire game and singing the Eyes of Texas after a victory, you'll have to show it to me, because that's pretty neat to see them stick around and just pack that student section and be loud and be impactful in the game. So thank them, thank our fans for, again, another great atmosphere, and we certainly felt and used the energy that they gave us. We're moving on. I said on the teleconference or whatever that thing's called that I told our team yesterday, they're not going to spot us 7 points in Manhattan because we beat TCU. Can we take the lessons that we've learned, both from a football standpoint and a psychological standpoint, from the last couple of weeks? Certainly, but what happened against TCU, what happened against USC, what for that matter, what happened against Maryland, is inconsequential to how we play and how Kansas State plays against us in Manhattan. So we enjoyed it Saturday evening, and we have moved on officially yesterday to trying to win a road game, which we haven't won. Our program hasn't won in Manhattan, Kansas since Caden Stearns was 2 years old. So that is no small feat, certainly, and we don't take that very lightly. And in our only road contest this year, we obviously did not play very well. So we're preparing our tails off. Injury update: Jamarcus Durst is doubtful with a pretty severe shoulder sprain. Montrell Estelle is doubtful right now with a concussion. Patrick Hudson is doubtful. He goes to the doctor. I think I told you guys on Thursday. He goes to the doctor today for a return to play protocol. And then everyone else is pretty good. Calvin Anderson and Sam Cosme did not practice yesterday, bumps and bruises, but they should be back ready to go. Brennan Eagles is going to go through practice Tuesday, so we'll know a lot more after practice. Keontae Ingram will practice on Tuesday. DeMarvion Overshawn will practice on Tuesday. And Zach Shackelford will practice on Tuesday. Now, does that mean all of those guys will make it to the game? I don't know, but we're healing a little bit here at some key spots. So excited about this week's preparation and opportunity to go 1-0 again in the Big 12. Questions?
2 years old, that's a baby wolf, Bill Baby Wolf. This really hit me looking at the post-game videos of the players tweeted out and stuff. I mean, does it play to your advantage now that there's not a single player in that locker room, let's be honest, who has ever won big at this level, and that this is all new to them, and that it seems like you've flipped that now and can use that, right?
I think so, yeah. I think winning is intoxicating, and it feels really, really good. But I think the key to that I'm proud of this group of guys, this team, is they understand that you don't beat TCU on Saturday. You don't. The 3.5 hours on Saturday is the reward for how hard you prepare and the sacrifices that you make. And so I think when you do win, because again, when you don't win, most of the time the sacrifices that are made and the work that goes in is fairly similar. So when you don't get rewarded, that stings really bad when you work as hard as we work in preparation. But these guys have, and we're always, I hope I'm here for a long, long time, and we're going to celebrate wins like that for a long time around here when we do win, because of how hard we work throughout the week.
And then as a follow-up on Sam, I'm sure some quarterbacks hate that phrase game manager, but here he's thrown for 200 yards in all 10 career starts. He's now 5-5 as a starter here. Yeah, he does manage the game, but he gives you a little bit more in the running game. I mean, how do you feel like him now, he's progressing 4 games in?
Well, progressing well, certainly has a long way to go, and we were very critical. He was of himself, and we were as coaches of him when you watch film. It's a lot easier to be critical when you win, but there hasn't been a perfect game played yet. But I do think he's progressing. I think the more that he does progress, the more confident he is in himself and the people around him. And then it's kind of a flywheel effect or snowball, if you will, that then the more confidence he has, the better he plays, the more confidence he has, and so on and so forth. But he is progressing well. We still got a long way to go.
Hey, Coach. And kind of maybe a follow-up to what Brian was talking about. In 7 wins that Sam has played, he's only thrown 2 interceptions. In 5 losses, he's thrown 7. So talk about how his decision-making seems to be improving. I've noticed he hasn't thrown an interception. Don't want to jinx you. Hasn't thrown an interception over the last 3 games. Just talk about the progressions that he's making. Seems like he takes a sack, but it's because he's waiting for guys to get open. Just talk about him as a decision-maker.
It's better, certainly. I think, in this sport, you want to, everybody wants to blame things on certain people. The quarterback gets blamed for interceptions, granted. I mean, because on the stat sheet it says 3 interceptions. It doesn't say a tip pass that got intercepted. It doesn't say a blitzer that hit his arm when he should have been protected interception. It just says interception. So I think decision making has improved. I think he's got to trust his speed a little bit. When things break down, just run. Don't try to go back and forth and spin and cut back and all that stuff. Just go forward when things break down, and he's learning that. But yeah, in the drop back pass game, his decision making is certainly improving.
Coach, what is it about playing in Manhattan? Texas has a miserable record there. Were you there when Ricky and Major were there and Longhorns got beat badly with, Max early on in his career? Have you been there?
No, I was 99 in 2000.
Have you ever experienced anything like that in your playing or coaching career where some places really, really, really difficult to win? And why so was Manhattan difficult to win?
It's usually the places that have really good teams and really good coaches that are hard to win. So obviously Bill Snyder's a Hall of Famer. His name's on the dang stadium. So he took over a program that was literally the worst in college football and turned it into a conference and national championship contender. He's got great new facilities. He's recruiting well. So he's got good players. He's got great coaches. He's got continuity. So I think all of that, I think it's difficult to get there in terms of just location. I think sometimes that plays a factor into just your travel and the wear and tear on you from a travel aspect. But the fans are great, and it doesn't matter what their record is. They're going to show up, and they're going to be loud, and they're going to try to make an impact on the game, much like our fans have the last 2 weeks. And so you put all that together, well-coached team that plays hard, that plays smart, and they've got a raucous fan base that shows up regardless of weather, regardless of record, regardless of any of that, and that makes for a difficult place to play.
Thanks.
Tom, I'm guessing the food tastes better this weekend, and people have more pep in their step. And you want these players to embrace winning, obviously. So you're walking a fine line because you want them to keep the memory of TCU and USC at the same time being hungry for what's coming up next.
I think there's a fine line between. I don't think the memory of TCU. I think the memory of what it felt like to win, regardless of opponent, is certainly one that we want to keep ingrained, and we want to we want to feel that again, but we've also got to know that it doesn't just happen on Saturday. Like I said, I mean, this is, you want that feeling again, great. You're very capable of getting it, but you got to go do the things that you did Sunday through Friday last week in order to make that a reality on Saturday. You got to go do the exact same thing, and maybe to even a higher degree because we're playing on the road. So I think our guys get that. They understand that. Again, very long, hard conversation yesterday in our team meeting about whose opinions should matter. And quite frankly, when it comes to football, it's my teammates and my coaches. That's it. That's it. And right now, my teammates and my coaches have confidence in me, but they're also going to push me to train because they rely on me. I'm speaking as if I'm a player. They rely on me as, to do my job so that they can have that kind of success.
And on turnovers, I think you're on the plus side of turnover margin now. You guys don't have a turnover chain or any kind of prop. I know you have the belly rub by Chris Nelson.
I don't know where that came from, but yeah.
But no gadgets or anything?
No, it's, one of our 4 items on our plan to win. 2 of them you could attribute to that. The very first one is play great defense, and the second one is win the turnover margin. I saw a stat in the 2 years that we've been here. Every time we've gotten a turnover, it's basically averaged 4.1 points. And every time we've given the ball up, we've given the other team 1.2 points or something like that. So we certainly make our defense aware of how powerful getting the ball is. And basically, if you're into averages, which can, what's the saying? 82% of statistics are made up on the spot, right? But if you go on average, your defense starts to take pride in the fact, hey, if we get the ball, that's 4 points, and when you look at the final tally against TCU, we won the turnover battle 4-0. Guess what the margin of victory was? It was 15, not 16. But so I mean, there's a direct correlation there, and so I don't think you need that kind of stuff. Is it fun? Yeah, anytime you can have fun with your kids is great, but I think our guys are fully aware and locked into how powerful taking the ball away on defense is and winning the turnover battle as a team is on winning the game.
Coach, offensive line play obviously has improved a lot over the last couple of weeks. Can you attribute Calvin Anderson? I know he came in and it took a while, but I mean his calming influence of being a senior or being a graduate player, and how is Zach coming back into that mix gonna? I know it gives you good depth, but I mean, is that going to change the dynamics any about what's going on with that group?
I don't think so. I think Zach, Elijah Rodriguez is a captain for good reason. Patrick Vajes played a lot of football here. Calvin Anderson's played a lot of football, period. But there's no doubt who the leader of that group is, and it's Zach Shackelford. And so getting him back is always a good thing. But I do think, to the first part of your question with Calvin Anderson, I do think, especially with him and Patrick on the same side, I mean, that's a lot of football that's been played on that left side. Now, we got to play better. We got to coach them better. I think, those 2 guys, and they would tell you, did not have their best games. We played well enough to win, obviously, but it's a really good defense we were playing against, too. Really good defense. A defense that held, I think, Ohio State to 24 offensive points. And so we understand what they were playing against, too. But I do think Calvin has a bit of a calming presence on that unit because there is so much experience there.
Over here on your left, Danny. Tom, I was wondering if you could give us your opinion on your running backs and how they're performing in the passing game, and are you guys getting enough production out of the running backs in the passing game?
Yeah, I think when the game plan calls for it, certainly. I think there's no doubt that Trey and Keontae are probably in another tier in terms of ability in that room to affect the passing game out in terms of running routes and ball skills and all of that. But yeah, we're where we need to be.
Yeah, Tom, you said beginning of last season that you guys wanted to win with great defense when you got here. Obviously, with the progress they showed last year, now the way they're playing now, just how gratifying is it to see the way that unit is playing and kind of helping y'all out?
There's a lot of pride, and you guys probably get sick of me saying it, but since the inception of the BCS and now into the college football playoff, there's been one national champion that's finished with a total defense outside the top 25, and that was Auburn. I think they finished 32nd that year. My math might be a little bit off, but they also had a quarterback named Cameron Newton. That was a pretty good player. So we understand that to play at a championship level, you're going to have to play great defense. And right now, through the last 3 games, I think, save for a couple drives here and there, we've done a really good job, certainly in the second half of the last 2 weeks. And it's something we take a lot of pride in.
And then just second, with Colin Johnson, the way he's been playing, and obviously his big game on Saturday, do you think, he's just finally kind of coming into his form and the player that you guys think he can be?
He's had a good couple weeks. There's no doubt about that. But I think we all knew, again, the difficult thing with Colin is, his skill set is he's one of the best one-on-one 50-50 ball guys I've ever been around. I would certainly imagine probably in the country right now. But I don't get to call the defenses either, and so if they want to, devote 2 people to covering him, then that makes getting the ball to him a little bit more difficult. But the quarterback has done a nice job of recognizing when we get one-on-one coverage, getting the ball to him. And he's done a nice job of making sure that when his number does get called, he's making those plays.
Tom, that leadership thing is sometimes hard to quantify when you're on a roll like this, you're going on the road. Kids get coached up by the coaches, but also the importance of being coached up by the leaders, and who are those guys that you as a staff rely on to maybe be that other voice?
Oh, wow. I hope I don't forget anybody, but I'm going to try to tell you the members of our leadership council. Right now it's Chris Nelson, Brecon Hager, Charles Amenague, Anthony Wheeler, Gary Johnson, Chris Boyd, P.J. Locke, Brandon Jones, Andrew Beck, Elijah Rodriguez, Zach Shackelford, Patrick Vahe, Shane Buechele, Sam Ehlinger, and Colin Johnson, Gerard Hurd. I hope I didn't forget anybody. But those are the guys that we're going to lean on because I meet with them on a regular basis, and we talk about, what's necessary. We talk about, in our 20 years, my 20 years of coaching experience, the hundreds of years combined that we have as a staff, what are the potential pitfalls in the, as we approach this part of the season and things of that nature. So those are the guys that we really lean on in terms of having a voice in the locker room and conveying our message, but also conveying any messages that the players, the players in that locker room know that they can go to them with anything, and it'll get back to us too.
Tom, I know these guys have their struggles over the years. There's some prosperity now. How does that change? I know you can coach them harder when they're winning, and how does that help move things along?
We're talking 3 games.
That's a lot for us.
I know.
3 games.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we are talking 3 games. That's a big deal.
We talk a lot about, pats on the back in our program, happen usually 5 times in your career, after the 5 bowl victories and when you walk across the stage and graduate. Other than that, we're going to push you, and we're going to push you really hard, win or lose. And do we know now that the formula works? Are we confident in the formula? Are we confident in the plan? Yeah, and that's a really good thing, because I think there's some validity and some testimony now that the plan does not just get us close, right? But the plan can actually put us over the hump, and we're going to continue to coach them the way that we have been.
It's not easy to play safety in this league. Caden Stearns is playing great. Seems to always be around the ball. Have you ever been around a freshman that's had that kind of impact on the back end?
Not that way. No way. Yeah, I mean, and you could see in the spring, the minute we put pads on, that this kid was always around the ball. And there's one thing to be around the ball. It's another thing to make plays on the ball and actually come away with it, and PBUs and all that stuff. So the great thing about him is he's always around the ball, run or pass, and he will come downhill in the run game and he will hit you. You know, I'm glad he's on our team.
This is kind of off of what Sept said, but you talked about moving on. How hard or easy is it for you to keep your guys playing at the level they've played at, because they do seem like a different team the past 2 games?
Well, I sure hope it's not hard. It wasn't hard last week. Again, because I think there's a genuine belief in the way that we do things, and a genuine, now that we've had the added testimony, you know, to that, with a couple, you know, double-digit wins here in the last couple games against nationally ranked teams. I think, how could you walk into this building and not want to do it that way again and again? You know, it seems counterintuitive to a degree now that you've seen and felt the rewards of doing it our way. And so I don't anticipate it being very difficult to motivate them moving forward.
Tom, how would you describe the identity of your offense at this point, and how close was Saturday's game to being it? And what do you remember most about Caden's recruitment?
Yeah, I think the identity, yeah, you know, to have that kind of balance, to have that kind of conversion success on some deep shots, to have the second half success on third down that we had. Certainly don't want to start 0 for 8 on third down, and was disappointed in, especially I think 2 3rd and 1s that we didn't get in the first half. That was disappointing. But from a philosophical standpoint, I think, you know, that's about right, you know, and I think the key is, and again, balance is being able to win the game the way that the defense dictates to you, because when the ball is snapped, they have the chalk last, so to speak, right? And so if they are saying, we are going to crowd the box and not let you run, and you're going to have to throw it to beat us, can we? You know, and if it's, hey, we're going to play soft because you got some really good wideouts, and, you know, can we move people around in a you know, a favorable box count in the run game? And if you can win the game either way, to me, that's balance. It has nothing to do with attempts or this, that, and the other. It's about being able to win the way the defense dictates. And what do I remember about Caden? Probably his maturity level is the one that sticks out. His mother, Brandy, phenomenal woman. I think, you know, and Caden would be the first to admit that, you know, having an older brother that played Division I football was probably a big help to him in terms of his maturity level and how he approached the game. But he was a really, really mature guy that his mom, I mean, all the moms of that class, you know, fell in love with. I mean, again, it's something we're really proud of around here, is that as highly regarded as that signing class was for their play on the field, all of those guys are our kind of guys in terms of character, in terms of the way they were raised, in terms of their family structure. And they're all different, don't get me wrong, but they definitely fit our way of doing things, because normally, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree on those things.
I've got two questions, Coach. First, Brecon Hager isn't making the statistical impact that maybe a lot of people thought he would. When you watch film on him, is he making the impact you hope he is on defense, or is
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. He's doing good. You know, he's getting close to the quarterback. You know, he hadn't had a lot of numbers show up just yet, but I think they're coming.
And then on that 4th and 1 play, are you okay with the call, with everything that you did, or is that a moment where you say, as an offensive mind, I need to be patient in a game that's been pretty defensive to this point?
No, we're gonna. When the defensive coordinator is on the headset going, go for it, you know, that's always a good sign, you know. And so, no, 4th and 1, yeah, we're around midfield, I think, is where we were. We better be able to, in the future, be able to get 4th and 1. Now, again, hats off to TCU. I mean, that's as good a defense as we've played thus far this year. And so, and we knew that going in. And but we got to be able to make those plays.
Coach, let's talk about Gary Johnson a little bit. Do you feel like he's, you know, after the first game with the targeting situation, do you feel like he's tore it up, like he really had to make up for what happened in that game? I mean, he's all the player that we expected him to be at this time of year, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with, you know, what happened in the first game. That's just who he is, man. Again, I'm glad he's on our team, because he can run and hit, and he's like the Energizer Bunny too. He just keeps going and going and going, and he's had a real good stretch here, and hopefully it continues this week.
Tom, after you lost, your recommendation was to read some John Steinbeck. You've won 3 games in a row now. What's on your reading list for your guys?
Apparently I screwed that up too, right? The message, I mean, the message was received. I guess I didn't have all my facts exactly right, but certainly not Twitter or Instagram. That's definitely not on our suggested reading list right now. But I think, you know, nothing. And I didn't suggest reading Of Mice and Men. I was trying to tell a story to Gary. Certainly, I don't think a 22-year-old guy is going to pick up Of Mice and Men unless it's for a class assignment. But no, I think we're in a good place. I don't think we need a whole lot of that, other than, you know, continuing to go out and stick to the formula in terms of the way that we prepare.
Bob asked it about. I was going to ask about Hager, but I'll end on an interesting note.
Here we go.
My man, my man, Coach Lovo. He's quite passionate out there. He was almost to the hash marks, I think, on one time. What is his role on game day?
Oh man.
I use Coach affectionately, knowing Fernando. But.
Yes, he is. He is my liaison to the officials. Passionate liaison to the officials, and I think I'm not quite sure who does it. Like, is he supposed to like hold me back from the officials, or am I holding him back from the officials? So, no, that's kind of his role. You know, he you know, during a TV timeout, I'll say, hey, get me the white hat. I want to talk to the referee or whatever it is. But he loves football. I said, Fern, you know, because Matt Smidbush is in our operations department too. He's like a mini Fern. But those guys, they like winning, and they like success, and they take a lot of pride in what they do, because they know that their jobs directly impact winning and losing. Just as, you know, just like coaching does, just like athletic trainers do, just like academics does, and just like strength and conditioning, nutrition. Every hand that touches our program has a direct impact on whether we win, and they have a lot of investment in that.
But is it Yancey's job to hold him back, and he holds you back?
I think it's supposed to be his job to hold me back, but I haven't given him much reason to do it. So, yeah. All right, thanks, guys.